I have a little bit of bad news for the 2000s kids. It's kind of been a long time since we grew up. You know, we're in a weird pocket of time where we're starting to feel a little bit old and starting to feel like we kind of are with the millennials in some ways. And then there are other ways that we feel like we're still very much kids. We're feeling some nostalgia. We're starting to get to that point where once you hit your mid-20s, it really kind of opens things up for you. And so in this video, we're going to be breaking down what it was like to grow up in the 2000s, kind of that weird pocket of time that comes with that, and just kind of in general break down some of our favorite toys, games, TV shows, everything like that from that time period. And I am, of course, here with Gwen Filipi, who is my wife. If you would...
What?
I know it's crazy. It's crazy news. But if you were not here for any of my old channels and haven't seen her yet, this is Gwen. I'm sure she'll be in some other videos talking about music and everything like that, because we're both from the 2000s, the early 2000s. We're kind of all, we have some similarities. We have some things that we probably differed in the way we grew up and what we did as kids. And so
I live here, so it's easy to bring me on as a guest.
Yeah, so we're going to be having her on plenty of times. But in this video, like I said, it's going to be a lot of fun breaking down we're going to kind of turn into back in my day people for a little bit in this podcast, because, you know, that's the thing that I think is so funny, is that we didn't think we were going to turn into those people that were like, oh, back in my day, we had this and we had that. And we're like in our early 20s and it's already happening. Like, I remember all these different things that I start to bring up to like these high schoolers that I'd sometimes call games with and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, like not that long ago, I promised myself I wouldn't do this. And then here we are. So I think it's something that we all fall into that bottomless pit of kind of being proud of the way we grew up, while also like recognizing that so much has changed. And it's just something I feel like we have to bring up.
I'm already the guy that like quizzes my 15-year-old brother on like 80s music. I'm like, who is this? What song is this? He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, who raised you? Or they'll tell me slang and I just don't know it and I feel so old.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun talking about all that stuff. But first, before we get to that, we have to get to our totally real review box, where we break down all of our reviews from all of our esteemed reviewers out on the internet. Our review for our second episode is second time listener, first time reviewer. I absolutely love the show so far. I fly all the time, so I'll be listening a lot. One request is that I would love if you would have a weekly segment about fish, or if you had a full episode about fish. As much fish as possible, please. This is coming from Steven Seagal. Oh my goodness. Wait, hold on. Steven Seagal. Okay, he is one of the bird listeners that tunes in from Florida, so I've had some messages from him before. Steven, I don't know how much we can kind of pull in fish to a podcast like this, or a show like this. So apologies to you, Steven. I hope you still enjoy listening to us. And then one more thing we have to do before we get into today's video. We are going to be taking a look at the hidden song lyric from last week's video. So if you're new to the channel, every week we're going to be going over a hidden song lyric that I'm going to be trying to slip in to the podcast episode. And last week's episode, we'll tune into that real quick and show you what that was. Even when you are going to a place like Planet Fitness, they say it's no judgment free, but like, as someone with anxiety, I feel like I'm always like, it's like I'm paranoid looking over my back. Like it's like a whirlwind inside of my head kind of thing. So it was lyrics from Linkin Park, the song Paper Cut. So I was kind of trying to go a little more with a song that not a lot of people knew for that first one. I didn't want people to get it right away, but we're going to be trying to filter in some more mainstream songs and songs that, if any of our friends that are 2000s kids listening, we're going to be trying to slip one in to this episode that I'm sure a lot more of you will know.
I also like how neither one of us are married for this.
Oh, yeah. It is a horrible habit. Hey, in the last episode, I talked about how I have ADHD and how that kind of impacts certain parts of my life. Part of that is I basically leave my ring pretty much everywhere. I leave without it all the time when I go to work, and I can't drive with it on because it's a weird sensory thing. And so it ends up all over the place. And right now I have my third ring, but this is like a metal one that's like a little bit cheaper. So I don't get to have another nicer ring shipped to us and for me to wear until I wear that one and don't forget it and lose it for like about a few months. So I think that's kind of funny.
First, I want to talk about like what you actually think the date range is that like is our generation that we're talking about.
Yeah, so I also wanted to talk about this. I didn't put it in our notes, but this is something that I think is one of my biggest pet peeves is when someone is like, okay, what are the generations? Gen Z, Gen X, Millennial, and then you look it up and why is there not a specific range that just like is martial law of this is what it is? Because every time we look it up, there's 5 different sources that say something. Why have we not like come to a collective decision on that? Because for me, one of the things that we're going to be talking about because of the weird pocket of time we're in is like, I feel like we do very much identify with different generations all at the same time because, you know, when we were growing up, we had VCRs. Like I remember back in like 2008, 2009, I was watching a Vikings game and wasn't allowed to stay up past whatever time. I popped in a VCR tape and watched it in the morning on a tape. A physical tape. We saw the rise of DVDs, and now they're pretty much obsolete.
Yeah.
And we're not even 25 yet. So it's like it was such a weird pocket of time where there's some ways where I feel like we're very much like millennials, but then I feel like the main thing that separates us is like a lot of millennials were like dial-up internet. Like when we were growing up, internet was doing real good. Millennials grew up with a lot more of no internet. And a lot of families didn't have it. We spent our whole lives connected to the internet in that way. Mm-hmm. We're not quite as dependent on social media as like the Gen Alpha kids.
Well, because we didn't have a computer in our pockets our whole time, like growing up. Like I think that was a main difference.
Yeah.
But exactly. I consider like millennials, anyone who like actually, like up until anyone who actually grew up in the 90s. Like even if you're a 90s baby, if you were born in 1998, 1999, you didn't like experience 90s culture. So I think 98 to whatever date we say for the 2000s is kind of that like sweet spot pocket because we aren't like the new generation and we didn't experience 90s culture. Yeah.
Like my sister, who's like 2.5 years older than me, was born in 1998. She's not going to say she's a 90s kid. Like she grew up with the exact same things I did. And just a disclaimer, we're going to be talking about things that are like us growing up. I understand that there's going to be people 5 years older than us and 5 years younger than us that did experience these same things. It's not always going to be just our generation. So like I'm already sensing those comments coming in like I'm a 2005 kid here. I did all these things. I mean, there's some overlap. So
there is some overlap because a lot of like kids from the 90s say like, oh, like this is just our childhood. I'm like, no, I also experienced those things. Yeah. But I'm not going to call myself a 90s kid.
Yeah. So this is going to be half a video talking about that specific time period. But when we get into like the kids shows and like the toys and the games and all that stuff, it's going to be kind of just more growing up as a kid nostalgia than it is like this rigid time frame. But I also do think there's a lot of things that are in that time frame that will be really interesting to talk about. But kind of finishing up that last bit of kind of being an older Gen Z, there are some other things that kind of were our time period that I feel like differentiate us from Gen Alpha and from the younger, Gen Z kids, because like one of the things we can share with millennials is like cube TVs. When's the last time you saw like genuinely a cube TV in like a house, not like in a school or like some place that is stuck in 1990.
Okay, but a cube TV on a cart at school was top tier also.
Yeah, you'd see that roll in and you'd know that we were going to watch like what was the name of that one Revolutionary War, Destiny's Kids or like.
Oh yeah, I think of Osmosis Jones. Like I feel like seeing like a TV rolled in on a cart was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting.
Yeah.
But even like I've experienced like black and white TVs. Like I remember having a TV at my grandparents' house that I would have to go up and like dial to change the channel, and like it was black and white, and it was just.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I think we're also getting to a point where technology is kind of forcing generations to start to adapt more. Like it kind of ended with the like 40s and 50s. Like our grandparents, they were so like rooted in what they knew, and because they were old enough at that point where they didn't really need to worry about technology, they didn't really catch up to it. 40 and 50 year olds, like so many of them, especially still in the workplace, like they started to have to like adapt to, I think most people under 50 are on Facebook now, and it's just kind of interesting to see how technology has like forced people to adapt in ways that maybe they didn't expect to, but also I feel like that's happened throughout history as well. So it's just interesting with this specific technological aspect of it. And then I think the other thing that like kind of drags us away from millennials and over to the young Gen Z and Alpha is that we still are like very active on TikTok. We're very active on social media. We're kind of part of that generation that's like, we grew up with it enough. The difference there is like we didn't have iPhones until we were like almost in high school.
Yeah.
But we still.
I mean, I didn't have mine till college.
Yeah, and we still. Well, you had a smartphone though in high school.
Yeah, I just didn't have an iPhone.
But like, I feel like that's in that same token, we did grow up with it enough where now that we're in our 20s, we're still very active with the things we used to be. And like, I feel like every once in a while, I still feel like I get the lingo. I get the lingo, such an old person thing to say, I guess. But like, I'm still kind of picking up on some of the things that younger kids are into because everyone's so plugged into the same source. But at the same time, I feel like that's getting worse and worse as the days go on because I hear a new thing every day that I'm like,
yeah.
I feel like I have to look up, and I have a long list of things on my phone that are things that I had to look up to find out that just remind me how old I am. But I think that kind of ties in again to the fact that we are like a lot of different generations at the same time, and so it feels like we don't really have a place in any of them in some ways, which I think is really interesting.
And I feel like you get like offended sometimes too when you get lumped in either way. Like I feel like so many times I've been told by old people like, oh, your generation's so lazy. And I'm like, no, like a lot of us were working at 13, 14, 15 years old, like when a lot of the new kids like aren't doing that and they're so addicted to their phones. Like we had to work growing up, and some of us have a longer attention span. So like it's hard to be lumped into that, but then also like you don't want to be lumped in with like some of the cringier things that like millennials did.
I feel like another thing that goes on the opposite end of that spectrum is I feel like I hear so many older people say like, oh, you kids don't even know how to use like a dial phone or like a phone that you actually have to hold like this and hold to your ear, and like that's maybe Gen Alpha, but that like I grew up with a landline in my house my entire life. Like I may not know how to work a rotary phone that well, but like I do think that's kind of interesting.
We don't think that the record player comes inside the record like that one can.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like it's kind of a nuanced thing, but like one thing I think is important, I might have promised myself I would never be a back in my day guy, and that ended up being the case. But one thing I never want to be, I never want to make other generations feel dumb for not knowing things that don't matter. Like, for example, people talking about like not being able to dial a rotary phone. It's like, there's new phones now. Like, why would you need to know how to dial a rotary phone? Things like telling time obviously are pretty big, important things. Because if for some reason a clock ever stops working and there's a manual one, you should be able to know how to read that stuff. But like, I do think it's kind of weird to be like, this generation is dumb or worse than us because they don't know a thing that's completely out of anything we would use. Like, that's the part that always rubs me the wrong way with that. So that's what I'm hoping I never end up being. I feel like there's also parts of it where like, I'm never going to forget what it was like to work at Chipotle. I'm never going to forget what it was like. But I also feel like that's less of a generational thing, and that's more of like a just don't be a jerk. Like understand what it's like to be a teenager working at a fast food restaurant. Like, you're just trying to pass your classes and make enough money to afford college, and this like 50-year-old comes in telling you how to do your job. Like, that's the stuff I feel like I'm never going to be, but that's mostly more just me being a decent person. So, like, if you're out there and you just yelled at a Chipotle worker, just know I don't approve of you, and that should be enough to sway you. But anyway, that kind of brings me into some of the stuff I want to talk about with what things have changed since we were kids, because we talked a little bit about, like, the generations lumping us in and saying we're not hard workers and you said we were very hard workers because we had to work really hard to get to school and everything. I feel like we were kind of one of the last generations where school was like, or college was like the one thing. I feel like when we were growing up, like in middle school, we were being asked where we were going to college.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like going to like a community college or like a trade school, you know, not going to a traditional college, taking a gap year. Those things were all just like a fallback, or it means you you failed or you didn't do well enough. I'm not saying that was the case for everyone, but I feel like especially in school and the way they talked about it, that was kind of the way we were taught. And now I feel like it's a lot more open. I feel like I'm hearing a lot more people talk about how, you know, if you don't feel like you want to go to college, don't spend the money on college. Like, it's a very expensive thing to put your money on. A lot of jobs don't require that kind of thing anyway. Genuinely, I can't remember the last time I applied for a job and they looked at my GPA in college. They looked at all the things I did after that. And if you don't feel like college puts you in a position of success, you know, there's a lot of, you know, jobs where you don't need to go to college, but it's a very good learning opportunity. If you don't feel like you're going to get that, you don't have to go to college. And I think more and more people are starting to understand that. And more people are starting to take a little bit of time off to just figure out what they want to do. Because it's like that John Mulaney joke where you're like 17, still in sweatpants in school, not really even understanding what the future is. And you get dragged into a room and you have to sign
you're going to be
agreement.
an English major.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it is kind of crazy if you think about it. Like how young you are when you decide to throw all this money at going to college. And like, I'm still paying back my student loans. I will be until 2034, pretty much. And
or I feel like the only other option that we were told was like respectable was like joining the like military.
Yeah.
It's like college or military was like the only respectable things. And both of those are crazy options. Paying so much money for a piece of paper or like risking our lives at 18 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just in a general sense, the way people view their futures has become a lot less traditional, and the way that the workforce has changed as well. Like, there's so many different jobs that have kind of become more obsolete. There's jobs that are coming into the forefront where it's more about the experience that you gained, you know, in the years that you were out of school versus necessarily going to a university and learning things. Obviously, there's always going to be the jobs that need university and need training and like medical.
I was going to say, I hope my doctor does go to college.
Yeah, medical stuff. Like if you're going to be a teacher or professor, you should probably go to college to learn the things you need to learn. Like, there's obviously a lot of things you still need to go to college for, but just the less traditional aspect of like being more flexible to what individual people want to do, and recognizing that everyone's a different person and is not going to have the same path in life. I think that's definitely something that's refreshing.
Another thing I want to talk about is being a latchkey kid. I think that definitely ended with our generation. I don't think any parent nowadays is like, yeah, you can just come on home by yourself and like unlock the house and stay by yourself for a couple of hours until I get home.
Yeah, that's...
Were you a latchkey kid?
Not really. I don't think so. Yeah, well, because my mom worked part-time so that she could be there.
Yeah.
So...
But I remember, like, literally on our landline, I would call my grandma in the morning on my walk to the bus because my mom wasn't home, like, an hour before I went to school and, like an hour or two after. So I'd call my grandma so then she knew that I, like, got on the bus. I, like, locked the door with my own key. I would come home. I would start dinner because I was by myself. And I would either, like, text on my phone that still had, like... You had to click like multiple times. What is that called?
Oh, like it would have the ABC.
Yeah. Yes, that's not like millennial or anything because I still had a phone to like let my parents know I was fine, but I was still a latchkey kid. I would go bike to my friend's house like a mile away. And like we would just like play and hang out, and then I would come home like once it was dark.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I definitely don't think that happens anymore. Like, and obviously there's unfortunate reasons for that, but I do think that, I don't know, it's a good and bad thing. I think it's a necessary thing in a lot of aspects, but also, you know, just in general, I think this is going to sound really back in my day, but like even when I was a kid, like I am grateful for the fact that I grew up without social media until I was in high school. That was more of like a thing my parents cared about, was not was not letting us online in that way to be that expressive until we were old enough, and that's something I'm kind of grateful for. I'm glad that when we were, I mean, there are kids that have phones 5th and 6th grade now.
Oh, I know.
Not just for like
There's kindergartners that are on TikTok.
yeah, and it's just I think that can be very damaging because like first of all, I really appreciate the time I got to spend in, late elementary school and middle school getting to like go outside and like I remember I would play with one of my best friends just out in the yard for hours and hours and like I just feel like that doesn't happen quite as much anymore because of video games and because of all that. Like, don't get me wrong, I love video games. And now in my older life, I am very bad at going outside and experiencing nature. So I guess I'm a little bit of a hypocrite in saying that. But like, some of the best memories I have as a kid involved being out there.
Yeah.
And obviously, I still played plenty of video games as a kid. Like, I'm going to talk about the video games I played. But like, having that like balance, I think was really good for me. And then the fact that I wasn't online, like worried about what people thought of me on the internet until I was a little bit older, made it a little bit easier for me as well. But I don't know. Now we're kind of getting to more of like the nuances of how people were raised, not even in the generations, but just the way people are brought up, which also has its own things to it. But also one more thing you added in here was I feel like kids aren't working as much as they used to at a young age, which like I guess I can't really attest to that. I didn't get my first job until 16, but like you started working at like 13, 14. I don't know if we're getting into any legal territory.
I mean, I did start working illegally actually because like I was like maybe like 3 months before I turned 14, and I think 14 was like when it was legal, and they like just let me start working at 13 because I like knew the right person, and it was like a family restaurant. But like that was the expectation. It was like once you're old enough to work, you're gonna work.
Yeah, and even at 14, I'm sure they had really restrictive rules. So we're not gonna name the name of the place you worked for legal reasons, I guess.
But like even now, like my brother's 15, and I was like, oh, like are you gonna get a job? And he like a lot of places won't even let you anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I get the whole like legalities of everything. It's annoying to have to schedule 3 and 4 hour shifts for kids, but like at the same time, like I do think it's a really good thing to get jobs like that. As much as I hated working at Chipotle, as much as I hated working at Valley Fair, it was obviously the aspect of understanding there's going to be people that don't treat you well and that you just kind of have to deal with it sometimes and like stand up for yourself when it comes to that. But like it's that first introduction of how people are out in public and just kind of the way you have to sometimes just swallow your pride and be nice to people because it's what you should do. And I think that there's a lot of lessons you learn from your first job.
100%. Well, and the value of money, you have to have a long attention span because if you are going to be working 4-hour shifts, you can't be on your phone, and I think a lot of kids struggle with that.
Yeah, and I never struggled with spending too much time on my phone once I initially
no
got
problem.
it.
Yeah.
Obviously, part of that is because like my family had a data plan for a while, and I couldn't.
Yes, I had minutes on my phone.
I can't like minutes for like talking text is definitely not much of a thing anymore. I think most families have unlimited data at this point too because it's just everyone's out on the internet all the time. Like it's just so difficult to handle all that. But like I just think that's really interesting. The differences in the generations with that too. Okay, so now we're going to get into some of the fun stuff where we talk about some of our favorite nostalgia from when we were kids. We're going to go over some like TV shows, toys, and games. So we're going to start out here with TV shows. And I'm just going to kind of go down the list of what we have because most of these are ones I put in and you have a couple as well. But I'm going to start off with some of the younger kids shows, and I'm going to go into more of like the like Disney Channel, like Nickelodeon type shows too. But Dragon Tales, this was one. I loved Dragon Tales. I pretty much grew up as a PBS kid especially when I would go over to my grandparents' house, we would watch PBS. Dragon Tales was our favorite show. We would like do fun like role play games where we'd pretend to be the characters and like we would like do the I wish with all my heart. What was it? To fly in a land with where dragons something. My memory is not as good as yours. And then we have Cyber Chases, one you don't remember that much. And
when we looked it up, like I remember seeing like that artwork, but I don't think I've ever watched that show.
And it's kind of interesting because like some of these shows I know I loved as a kid and have very little memory of, and some I don't remember liking as much, but remember it very vividly. So I wonder if it's like certain like sound prompts or like things that are more memorable that make you remember things more than others.
Did you watch Bear in the Big Blue House?
I didn't.
Really?
I don't know if some of those ones, I feel like the like more realistic stuff, not realistic, but they're more like puppet style. I kind of got freaked out by a little bit when I was a kid, but
I love that. Like Elmo was like my biggest thing, and then once I was a little bit older, it was like Bear in the Big Blue House. Loved all of that stuff.
Super Y.
Oh,
that was an amazing show.
That was a good one. Did you
that
have
was
Word World on there?
Word World isn't in there either, but like
Super Y and Word World are neck and neck. Those are such good shows.
Those were the ones that were like very educational, but like in such a fun way. What? Super Y was the one where they go into all the different like
books and stuff,
fairy tales and stuff, and that one was really awesome. They all were like had weird superheroes and stuff. Yeah, and then World World.
So hard. Word World
was the one that was like the animals were literally made out of the words, and then they would like take these I don't know where the letters came from. They were just kind of hanging around, and then you'd take words.
It was so satisfying.
You'd take letters and like shove them together, and then they become something. Which like I think it's a little interesting that like the things are also the same thing as like the animals are made of the letters too. I don't know. I don't read too much into it, but Max and Ruby. I loved Max and Ruby.
So good.
Max and Ruby and Max. That one was like, I feel like it's weirdly like I remember only 4 episodes that just would play on repeat, but I wouldn't care because they were just such good episodes. But like, I think also the fact that me and my sister were like the older sister, younger brother duo, like I related a lot to Max in a lot of ways. But yeah, that was an awesome show. I like that art style that I wish that would come back because.
Well, a lot of the shows, like, when we were growing up were not very, like, they were soft and educational when, like, a lot of the ones now are just, like, there's too much going on that it, like, overstimulates kids.
Yeah, it's meant to, like, keep eyes on and, like, just stimulate the mind, but not necessarily in, like, a good way, just to have enough going on where, like, the kids are in a trance. Little Einsteins is an amazing one.
Yes.
I'm getting the urge to just start singing all of the theme songs, and I know I can't because we're gonna get copyrighted. But like,
speaking of Little Einsteins, though, do you remember Baby Einstein?
No, I don't remember Baby Einstein. What was that?
It was like when, like, literally, like, as a baby, like, you'd put on this like movie, and it was like sometimes puppets, sometimes it was like a toy where like marbles would just like go down, and it like was just like high contrast. Like the background was always black. And it was mostly like toys or like puppets or something.
Okay, so Gwen just showed me Baby Einsteins. I didn't recognize it.
Maybe you don't recognize it because you were a baby.
Maybe.
But
drop in the comments. Drop if you've heard of Baby Einsteins, I guess. Wonder Pets. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
What's gonna work? Teamwork. That better not get copyrighted. But yeah, that was a really. I feel like that was just I feel like every single show had such a unique art style, and I just feel like every show now looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's supposed to just be the best animation, where I feel like obviously growing up we didn't have the best animation, but it was just so like homey, and it was so like I don't know, something about it just feels different. The Backyardigans.
Yes.
I watched that back the other day. I forgot how bad that animation was because
I don't
want
to know actually. It was so good.
That was in that period where it was like almost their first crack of trying to get good animation, but it wasn't good yet. So it wasn't very good animation.
Well, it was like also more 3D. I think that was revolutionary.
Yeah, 3D animation, but that was an amazing one too. Uniqua, Pablo, Tyrone, and there was one more. Yeah, I said Pablo. Pablo, Tyrone, Uniqua. What was the fourth one? What was the purple guy? Austin. Yeah. So yeah, that was worth your time for us to try to figure that out. But yeah, that was an amazing show too. And then Arthur. If you ask me like what's probably like in terms of like both my opinion of it and like overall like influence, that's probably one of the best kids shows of all time.
Yeah.
Like it went for so long too. It just ended like a couple years ago. Like it went.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if they like took it off and brought it back. But like, yeah, they had like a finale a couple years ago where like
crazy.
Arthur, like they made them all old, and Arthur was like, it turned out that like all of the Arthur stories.
Don't spoil it. Just kidding.
It turned out all of the Arthur stories were him writing about like his
Oh,
childhood.
that's cool.
So yeah, it was cool. But yeah, I don't know if it ran the whole time, but like that was a long running show, and gosh, all the stuff with PBS. I'm not going to get into all of it, but it's very sad.
Before we get into all of the teenage ones, the ones that I accidentally added at the bottom, but Scooby-Doo.
Oh yeah.
The animation from that, top tier. If I go back and watch it now, it's probably not going to be top tier. But they had like the giant worm and like the Hex Girls, and that one's just so nostalgic for me.
Yeah, that's a great show. I think that was like another one of those classic ones that like no matter how much things get made better in terms of the way cartoons are made and how well the animation is, just like the story of it is just, there'll never be anything like those kinds of shows in my opinion. And again, we're talking very biased here.
Yeah, but very biased.
Scooby-Doo will always be one of the best.
I know you didn't watch this. My Super Bowl was Jimmy Neutron.
Your Super Bowl was Jimmy?
Okay, no, but like that's how important Jimmy Neutron was to me. I had it on my, not even like a foldable, like portable DVD player. I had it on my like Video Now or Video Star. Video Now, I think is what it was called.
I had the portable DVD player, but
I had one of those too, but
you showed me what the Video Now is, and it was...
If you're not sure what I'm talking about, it's like this big, and it like was literally the size of the DVD with a screen that was probably that big. And you had to have specific Video Now DVDs. It wasn't even like regular DVDs.
Yeah.
And there was like a Jimmy Neutron one where they had like the pants that turned like crazy.
All these things we're talking about, we'll probably put pictures of them up on the screen, so you probably saw what it looked like. It basically is like a bigger calculator with and like that's about how big the screen is. If you don't know what the portable DVD player is, it was basically like a laptop, but like it was smart. Just a player. Like you would put it in, and it would be like a small thing where the movie would play.
Yours was on the side?
I don't know if it was. Oh no,
mine was on the top. It was like
you put it in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember watching like Night at the Museum on it or something.
But do you remember like how difficult it was, like trying to pick out how many DVDs you could bring?
Yeah.
And like you would plan it out based on how long your movies were, like for the drive.
Oh, you kids have it easy. Like, back in my day, we would have to pick out our DVDs and put them in. Okay, let's move on now to kind of like a little bit older, but not that much. Just like the classic like Disney Channel and Nickelodeon shows you'd watch like elementary school through middle school, maybe a little into high school, but just kind of in general. Mine was Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Yes.
And like obviously Sweet Life on Deck was a little bit later, but like
both so good.
Arwen is like one of my favorite like characters in any show ever. Like he's so funny to me. We would laugh so hard at him, and
but every character was funny. Like no one was like the grumpy adult, even like
Mr. Mosby.
Even like he's like, would you like M or from? Like
I will say every time a meme comes back around that's like something from back then that like new people are like, oh, this is so funny, what's this from? Like part of me gets a little angry, but then part of me is also like, these new kids kind of see what I like. The one clip from that show that's like the 1-2 kick and shimmy shimmy shimmy.
Yes.
Yeah, the part where Mr. Mosby's showing like all the dance moves. That was one of my favorite scenes, and it's cool seeing like just a random Sweet Life of Zack and Cody scene pop up on TikTok, and I'm like, this is like an ancient relic to some of these kids. Next up, kind of in that similar vein, we have Hannah Montana. That was obviously one of the bigger shows from when we were growing up. And one thing I think about is like, I talked about all that stuff being on TikTok every once in a while, but like, do you think that like Gen Alpha kids really have no idea about these, like High School Musical, for example? Do you think
they know, they just don't like get it?
Yeah, like they don't. But like I feel like there's some things that like my parents grew up with that I just never even had heard of because it wasn't on.
But these are like very mainstream things. Like if we showed them some, like if I asked Levi about Bear in the Big Blue House, he'd have no idea.
That's true. There's just some things where I'll be like, someone will talk about what's her name, Emily Osment, the one that played Lily, and they'll remember her from Young Sheldon.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it kind of pains me that that's where they remember it, but why wouldn't they remember it that way? Because that's what they grew up with. So I feel like I'm kind of a hypocrite sometimes because I talk about these things and then I feel the exact opposite way. But yeah, Hannah Montana was probably the biggest show from us growing up, I would argue.
Well, it's also crazy. Miley Cyrus was like 12 when that show started.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
That's another thing, just in a general sense about growing up, is like the people that are older than you always seem so old. Like when I was in middle school, high schoolers were like adults. And like I definitely remember Hannah Montana or Miley being like really old when I was watching that show because I was like 6 years old. So yeah, that is kind of interesting. They were really young when they were doing those shows, and like that's I think it's because like younger actors were so good back then. Like obviously there are a lot of people not being great to young actors back then too, which is unfortunate, but maybe that plays into it. But like I do feel like Zach and Cody, they were so young and they were so good.
But they started acting on Friends though, so like
Yeah,
they've been acting for.
Yeah, I feel like I just feel like some of the acting from younger kids in the shows back then were just so good that I guess I just didn't really think about it that way. Wizards of Waverly Place, that was an amazing show. I couldn't watch it for a few years because it had magic in it, so I had to wait until I was a little older to watch it. Another reason why I feel like a lot of these shows are still recognizable is because some of the characters from that show went on to do other things.
Yeah.
Like Lily from Hannah Montana. Miley Cyrus is one of the bigger, stars, and like for Wizards of Waverly Place, Selena Gomez like took off after that. So like that's kind of how you can draw it back, I guess. But that was a really good show. That's So Raven was arguably probably one of my favorite shows back then. I bet I could probably give you all of these theme songs like word for word. And I wish we could do that here on YouTube, but obviously we can't.
But then also even going into like when Disney XD like first came out, do you remember like Kicking It?
Kicking It. I never watched Disney XD. I don't know.
I feel like Kicking It was the only one that I like really cared about.
The only one I watched was what was the one? It was like King of Kings.
Oh,
it had like Oliver from Hannah Montana, and then the other one. But yeah, that was a really good show. But I never really watched a lot of Disney XD. I don't know if it was what the reason for that was. Going now into Nickelodeon, iCarly was obviously a really good show. Gwen doesn't like it at all. My opinion of iCarly has always been like, if you took Spencer or Gibby out of the show, I wouldn't even watch it. But because they're main characters in the show and they're so funny, I loved the show. There's really funny moments in it that make you laugh really hard, but like the whole thing is kind of just like okay. But yeah,
I feel like it just like creeped me out even from a young age. Like iCarly like gave me weird vibes.
And there's reasons why it gave you bad vibes, unfortunately. But
Victorious was like somewhat more palatable for me, but it still like weirded me out.
Yeah, it was just, and it makes it even worse now. But yeah, iCarly, I feel like Spencer as a character, I would have loved him to have his own show because there's one episode that me and my sister would watch. Like I could watch that episode to this day and still laugh really hard, is the one where they make that sign that they hang over the overpass trying to like promote the show, and Spencer's there like on location, and it like shorts out and all the cars are crashing and everything. That scene is probably one of the funniest scenes
I don't even know what you're talking
from growing up. But like as a whole, I don't know if I'd put that show in like my top list. But then
I don't think I would put any Nickelodeon show in my top list. I think it would all be Disney Channel shows.
Yeah, I would say in like a top 10 list, I might put in Drake and Josh because I didn't watch that a lot, but like
that show was really funny.
The clips from that show are so good, and like again, that's another show that has kind of a shadow over it now, but like those two were such good actors. Obviously the treehouse scene and like all the memorable scenes were very good, but like as a whole, again, like they're not like a laugh a minute type shows for me. A couple other ones that I thought of while I was doing this that were more like towards the end of my viewing experience on like Disney Channel. Good Luck Charlie was probably, in my opinion, that was the last like really good Disney show before they didn't get as funny to me. But
I will say guilty pleasure, Liv and Maddie.
I couldn't watch Liv and Maddie. I don't know what it was about it. I didn't enjoy it.
I think that was the last show that I like, but it was also a guilty pleasure because it wasn't as good as the other shows. But like, did I still watch all of it? Yes. And we now live in Stevens Point. So
I feel like Liv and Maddie was the very first like where it started to get into that like overacting style that I didn't really like as much.
No, I agree, and that's why it was a guilty pleasure because it wasn't good.
Yeah. But like once it started getting into like Dog with a Blog and Liv and Maddie, that's when it kind of went downhill for me. I also was getting to that age too, so maybe I'm biased, but like I feel like I watch certain shows from back then even now and I laugh, and then I watch the new ones and I try and do it as unbiased as I possibly can. It's just like it's the overacting in it.
I want to know who's watching those though, because I feel like even like I guess my sources are like 15 years old, so I don't really
Yeah.
have like a good range. But who's watching these new Disney Channel shows?
I'm curious because I do feel like cable TV in general is just going downhill.
Yeah.
But yeah, Good Luck Charlie for me was really good show. Every character in that show was amazing. Ant Farm was okay. It was like
Yeah.
I feel like that was like a couple of actors in that show overacted. Like I think that was kind of the closing of the book. I don't know why I did that. It was kind of like the closing of the book for good shows at that point.
What a weird time though, because I remember going straight from like Disney Channel shows to like watching Grey's Anatomy. Like I feel like there's
Yeah.
no like transition period.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of how you could say that they were good because like I was fairly old when I was still watching Good Luck Charlie. Like
Oh, yeah.
it was a good show. Like I wouldn't watch it right now, but like it was a pretty good show and I watched it into like late middle school. Like
Yeah.
it was good. So like that's how I feel like you can tell that those shows were good is they stand the test of time, I feel like. Okay, now we just have a few of these, but we'll go into some of the like toys and games that we liked as kids. This is really the part where we're like talking about things that really can overlap to all the different generations. The first one here is the Bop It. I should have brought mine over because we have one. We got it actually in a dice game competition for Christmas. So that was one. I feel like it existed a good while before we
Yeah.
had it. Like that was like probably like 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And then it kind of became popular again.
Kind of
And
crazy though. I brought it up to my boss after Christmas, and she goes, "I don't know what a bop it is."
man, I don't even think
And
that's
she has like a 20-year-old kid, so like she probably would have been around that time. Like her kid would have had it.
yeah. I mean, maybe that's not even a generational thing, and just like some kids grow up with things that we think everyone does. And
Yeah.
one thing I have on here is Pretty Pretty Princess. A couple of these are
Yes.
like games and shows and stuff that like obviously growing up as the young brother, there was a lot of games I played that if I was the older brother, I probably wouldn't. But yeah, Pretty Pretty Princess. When I was 6 or 7, I was 6, 7. I'm gonna keep that in because I
No,
feel like
you're not.
I feel like I deserve to have that shown.
No.
I deserve to have that cringe shown because that is something that okay, I'm gonna talk to all the parents in the room real quick because I'm getting old enough to talk about this where I'm kind of playing both sides. If you have a kid or teachers, if you have kids that are doing something that you think is annoying, like a funny like stupid trend,
What the Sigma?
just see, that's what I'm saying. All the kids that are watching this cringed out of their minds when you said that.
Exactly.
So if you feel like you're annoyed by something, start doing it. Start doing it emphatically. Like all the adults around the United States, if they just start doing that thing, it dies so quickly. And no offense to kind of the older adults that are watching this, because I mean, I'm sorry, it really is true. It's just like a thing. When you're younger, you don't want adults to admit that they like the thing you like because then you feel like it's lame. And obviously I don't feel that way anymore, but like just to all the adults out there, start doing the annoying thing because then the kids will stop because they'll think it's not cool anymore. And I think that happened with 6-7 because like it became like an ironic joke that people our age or even older would start doing it, and then I feel like it's fizzled out pretty quickly after. So that's just a word to the wise. Start saying that. But because I did that, I feel like I have to keep it in. I'm sorry, but I have to. But
Let's move on.
when I was 6, I'm gonna say 7 or 8. When I was 7 or 8, I was decked out in the Pretty Pretty Princess, earrings and crown, and like it was just any other game for me. So it was a
fun.
really fun game to play, and those are the kind of games that I remember very fondly from when I was younger, because like we just play it over and over again and never get tired of it.
Did you have the Leapfrog like game console?
I think I remember having it for a very short time. I don't remember if I had it or another friend had it because I don't remember
Because
it
it
that
had like
vividly.
cartridges like Nintendo, and like you'd put them in your Leapfrog, and
Yeah,
I remember playing like an aerial game, and like that was top tier.
Yeah, that was like when you didn't have video games quite yet, but like a screen moving on its own was even cool to see. But yeah, that's a good segue into what we're going to be talking about next, because we are talking about the Wii and the DS. Because like This is probably the biggest back in my day that I'll say in this whole episode, because like, do you remember how crazy it was when the Wii came out, where you were like, I can take this thing and move it and the character will do that?
That was the coolest thing ever.
Like, and like obviously the Kinect came after that, and then all the virtual reality stuff started flowing. But like back then, the idea of taking a remote and being able to like with your actual motion hit something, or like, that's kind of like the one thing I'll say of like, kids today don't understand that. Like, that was top tier, being able to do that. And also like, even the games that weren't motion based, like Mario Kart and stuff, pretty much all of the Madden games I played as a kid were on that. Not even on an Xbox I would play, and the graphics were horrible.
I think about Just Dance. Like, I was obsessed with Just Dance on Wii.
Just
like
Dance.
1 through 4, so good. And nothing can replicate that feeling for me.
And I never had Guitar Hero, but I would always know someone who had it, so I would play that one all the time too. Guitar Hero was really fun. I also remember, I was a little older at this point, I was probably like early middle school, but Skylanders were insane to me. Because like, basically, if you don't know what Skylanders are, they're the figurines you'd get like at a store. You would take this figurine and there would be like a portal that you'd connect. I don't know if you'd have to connect it to the TV or how that worked, but you'd put it on the portal, and then that Skylander would be the one you played with on the screen. So you would buy these Skylanders. It was all a marketing ploy because you'd make a bunch of money out of it. But you'd buy these Skylanders, and then if you had 10, that's how many characters you had before you lost that round, because you wouldn't be able to fight with it anymore. But it was like a fighting game where you had all these things. But the idea of like, that isn't on the screen until I put it on here and then it shows up, was like mind-blowing at the time. And now it's like, all these different things are around, and it's really crazy. But we'll move on now to, well, obviously with Wii, we have to talk about Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort.
Yeah.
Like, the other day we played Wii Sports Resort. Like, that, like,
Still
I will
so
never
good.
get tired of playing those kinds of games, but like, those were probably the 2 top ones. Like we talked about, Just Dance, and Sing It was one of them. You had like a microphone you could actually like sing into.
I never did that.
I think that was like the Disney one, the Disney version
I
of
don't
it.
think I ever had that. I remember like the biggest ones for me were like Mario Kart and Just Dance and like the Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort.
Yeah, those were the peak ones, but like, the interactivity of all of it was just something we'd never seen before. But then we still had the handhold stuff, like the DS. Like, I had the DS Lite when I was younger.
So good.
And like, I'm trying to find like the game I played as a kid, because I played Pokemon Pearl on my DS, and I'm so mad that, you know, hindsight's 2020. You have to get rid of stuff when you get older, but like, that was one I'm like, I really wish I would have kept it, because now those games are going for like hundreds of dollars, because like, people are getting into that like older game kick where they want to get all the older consoles and stuff, and I'm sure it'll come around again. But like, playing Pokemon Pearl, I never did finish the game because I was probably a little too young to get it, but like, those Pokemon games back then were just peak. Those were amazing games.
I loved Nintendogs. Or I had like a Polly Pocket game, and it was like water park themed. This is probably very niche, but I remember like my Polly Pocket, I had to like go down a water slide to like collect points and stuff like that.
The best part about the DS was like the stylus, where you could like actually tap on the screen, because like, consoles before that you couldn't do that. Like, even the Wii, like, you have to point and click. Like, being able to tap, that was the first like tap
And
thing.
chatting on your DS.
I never did that. No.
Okay, so I lived in a trailer park when DSs were big. But me and my friend, she had like, I think 2 brothers and like 3 sisters. 2 sisters maybe. So there was a bunch of us in just these 2 houses. So we would like run around our neighborhood and like chat each other and play hide and seek and like all these outside games. But we would bring our DSs with us so we could chat and like send stuff to each other.
This is a very niche one, but like, did you have that game where all the little fish were in like the circle?
Yes!
And they had like the magnets, and you had like the pole, and you would like fish them out. That was, let's find that game and play it, because that was like such a fun game as a kid. But that, it was, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's on the screen. I don't need to explain it to you, but it's, you basically just have like a magnet, and they would like open and close their mouths, and it would like all rotate around. And oh my gosh, I forgot completely to mention for the Wii Play. Do you remember Wii Play?
Yes, with the like one with the like little tank, and you would like. Yes.
That's what I thought of when I thought about that. I saw that on TikTok. It was like a shirt that had
just
all of the
unlocked
fish
that
from
for
the...
me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the
That
Wii Play was
so
underrated.
fun.
Wii Play was really underrated. That was like my 3rd favorite game behind the other 2. But Yeah, that I forgot about that. But yeah, the
That was
magnet
like on
one
days
was
when we
fun
were
too.
too lazy to play Wii Sports. We were like, let's play.
Yeah, pretty much. And then we have Webkins. I don't know if you did much with Webkins, but like I remember the first one I got was like the platypus one, and then like Webkins was kind of like the first rendition of Skylanders where you would be able to put in the code of your plush that you got. And then these companies are really good at getting as much
Well,
money as
essentially, it
possible
was
out of
just
this.
like Beanie Babies, but they're like, let's make more money off
Yeah.
of it and like do
But
it
it was-
online because then you have an online presence.
I think about that sometimes because like they would have the thing of like your pet is hungry, and like it was
I don't
almost like
remember most
Tamagotchi.
of it. Yeah.
But like I remember people coming on like 2 years later, and it's basically told them their pet was dead. It didn't say
Oh
it
my
was.
gosh.
It said it like didn't exist anymore.
That's crazy.
But like
But like
yeah,
going into like those online games, we always played like cool math games and
Yeah.
Pop Tropica.
oh, Pop Tropica was
Pop
amazing.
Tropica went, and then Club Penguin.
Oh, Club Penguin. Oh,
All
I
of
miss
those
Club
games,
Penguin.
I would still play Pop Tropica today.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get this, but all of my girls out there, I don't remember if you ever played like Pixie Hollow, where you would like make your own like fairy, like Tinkerbell, and like you would go around playing these like mini games. So fun, and I would like print out all of them because you get to make them completely custom and then name them. Oh,
Yeah.
so fun.
Club Penguin was my jam. I would play Club Penguin every single day after school.
We
Like-
would even like in computer lab. I feel like I played Pop Tropica.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those games are all really, really fun. And then just kind of some outdoor toys, like Razor scooters were the thing. Like everyone had a scooter that they would like. Honestly, I feel like I use a scooter more than a bike, just to go like
Yeah.
short distances. And then the ripstick.
When that
I
came
would-
out, that was crazy.
I would still ride a ripstick today.
I
But it
could
was,
never figure it out.
if you don't know what that is, it's the pictures
There's a
on the
picture.
screen. I think they still have ripsticks all over the
Yeah.
place. I saw them at the store the other day. But
It's
yeah,
like a non-electric hoverboard.
yeah, it's a skateboard, but you can go back and forth and make it go faster instead of putting more
Pushing.
effort into it, I guess. The other thing I had was a green machine, which it was like,
Green machine.
it was basically like a tricycle, except it had like a back that moved. So you could like drive it down and then you'd go like this and you'd drift. It
Like
was,
the thing that we did in Palm Springs?
it was like that, but you sat. It was like an actual like,
Oh.
yeah, you'd sit down on it.
interesting.
And again, a picture's on the screen for it. But like I love the green machine up until I hit a turn a little too hard and I fell off of it. And like,
Oh no.
because I was sitting down on it, you flip right on top of yourself. So,
Oh
like,
yeah.
So I think I was afraid to use it after that. I think I also fell off a ripstick and was afraid to use that. So
I feel like I did like bike, razor scooter, rollerblades, and then like after that, like there was one time I went over to my friend's house and her family was like dirt biking in their backyard and I was like, I can do it. I'll just try it. Ran into a tree.
yeah, dirt biking is probably not something you want to just pick up and without any lessons or
But that's
anything.
how outside we were. We're like,
Yeah.
that was what was happening that day. That's what we were gonna do. I remember only listening to songs on our family computer, and then once the iPod came out, I had like the iPod Shuffle, or was it the Nano or the Shuffle? Which one had no
The-
screen? The Shuffle.
The Shuffle had no screen, I think.
No, iPod Nano was the one that had a screen.
Oh.
That's what I thought.
Interesting.
And then the iPod Shuffle was just the square one. No, literally, this iPod is what I watched Twilight on for the first time in Megan's room.
Yeah, I had the square one. It was like
I had the Shuffle. Yeah,
the whole
I had the
thing
Shuffle.
was a screen,
Oh, I did not have that.
but it was like a tiny one. Like it had a screen,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I didn't have the one that had the screen. It was just the buttons. But me and my mom shared it, and like I remember you had to like physically upload it with your computer. And after a couple of years, my iPod got stuck on replay. I don't know if it uploaded wrong or what happened, but it was stuck on replay on like one song, and it would just go like da 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 da.
so we consider doing like top songs as well, but like I feel like that's more one that we should lump into another episode talking about music, because then we can talk about our favorite nostalgic songs, our favorite songs from like, today, songs from like way back in the 50s and 60s. We can kind of go over all of it and go over our top albums and artists and stuff of all time. So I feel like that's probably better served to be in its own video. So
You'll have to tune in for that.
yeah, so that will be the last thing we talk about here in this video. Okay, so to finish off the episode, again, thank you so much to Gwen for joining me for this one, and hopefully we can have her on for a lot of other episodes. But as I always am going to be doing, I'm going to be going over kind of a heartwarming, wholesome Reddit story, because again, I feel like anytime people talk about Reddit stories on YouTube, it's always like the depressing ones or the ones with all the drama and everything. With everything going on in the world, I just kind of want to share just wholesome ones to finish out the episode, to get people kind of in a good mood to finish things off. So this one is called, this is again from r/heartwarming. Maybe I'll kind of mix in some other ones as we go along, but this one is my little brother's YouTube account. It says, so my little 8-year-old brother just started his very first YouTube account, and it's all about fish and aquatic life. He's been putting a lot of effort into his videos and gets genuinely excited over every time he sees a new subscriber. Over the past few days, some of my friends were kind enough to subscribe, and he managed to reach 20 subscribers, which absolutely made his day. Seeing how happy it made him inspired me to share his channel on a few other subreddits, and honestly, the response has been amazing. Just in the past afternoon alone, he's amassed a whopping 70 subscribers, and he hasn't stopped smiling since. He keeps refreshing the page in disbelief and talking nonstop about future video ideas. I would be incredibly thankful if some of you could check out his channel, give a video a like, or even a subscribe if you enjoy it. Your support would truly make his whole week. And it's cool clicking on it now. It looks like his channel has like over 200 subscribers since she posted that. So that's just something cool, I think. Like, thinking about me and how young I was when I started my very first YouTube channel, and like at the point I was when I was making it, I was so afraid to even be on camera, but I cared a lot about what I was talking about. And I remember there was a couple YouTube channels, one of them being, his name was Liam Pinero, that I remember I watched him for a while after he subscribed to, but he subscribed to my channel and he like left a good comment and everything like that. And he had like 3,000 subscribers at the time. He didn't have to do that, but I feel like he just knew it would make my day to comment and subscribe, and he did that. So if you ever see a YouTube channel that you're like, I can tell this person's trying hard, like they don't have a lot of support, or maybe you're watching like a Twitch stream, make sure you give those people the love and the support that they deserve, because everyone deserves to feel validated making videos on this platform, and the kind of drive to create and the inspiration people get from it is something that I really think is cool. So if you, I'll link that story in the description for you to check out, because I think that's cool, and maybe we can even get a few people subscribed to this kid too. So it's really cool. But thanks so much for watching this one. I hope you all learned what it was like to grow up in the 2000s, and thank you to Gwen for tuning in. She'll jump in real quick here. But yeah, thanks so much for watching this one, and of course, as always, I'll see you on the flip side.